So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hello, and welcome to 90 Day Fiancé MK. I'm Mr. O, and today, Ms. H and I will be discussing the Season 8, Episode 14 of Happily Ever After. In this episode, Angela thinks she's getting to the bottom of a Nigerian scammer ring. Thais' friend brings up all the things they've already resolved years ago. Ed wants to look out for Liz's future relationships. Jasmine and Gino talk about their lack of intimacy again. Kobe presents his bride price to Emily's parents. Alexei is getting really impatient with Loren's recovery time. And Rob gets really close to winning Sophie back with a stuffed animal. We'll be back again next week to talk about episode 15. Our other channel, Love After Lockup MK, is on hiatus until the new season starts in July. Alright, thanks for listening, stay safe, and enjoy.
Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good because it's technically the first day of my summer. Technically, I'm working today, even though I'm not in the building, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Technically, it's my last day of work today before the summer.
Yeah. I was on a boat this weekend, and I was like, okay, this is the first day of summer.
Yes. When Miss H gets on a boat, it's summertime.
Yep. But I also got sunburned, so... So, yeah, speaking of getting burnt, let's get started with our first couple,
okay.
Angela and Michael. So Angela is still reeling over all the stuff she has, quote, discovered on Michael's phone. She wants to consult with an immigration lawyer to talk about her options to protect herself. Mm-hmm. So she video calls Rebecca, an immigration lawyer, and asks her about why Michael's visa is being held up. She then asks why he would Google life insurance, and she thinks it's a scam. Rebecca's like, hold up, I don't know your history, and wonders if maybe she's just assuming things. Rebecca says that she's seen the administrative process take over a year, but doesn't think that that's their case because the embassy said specifically what they're trying to find. If she's concerned about him scamming, Rebecca thinks that Angela will want the case denied because since it's been 2 years, once he gets to the country, he will be a permanent resident, and she'll be financially responsible for him for 10 years. And Angela acts like this is new news, but I swear they've been saying this on this show forever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rebecca says that Angela could be sued for money either by Michael or the government, regardless of if they divorce. Angela is worried about how this will affect her or her 6 grandkids. Rebecca says that she will have to email the embassy to withdraw the petition, and she'll have to act fast since he already had his interview. Angela says there's nothing in this for her but love, and she says that she can love him from afar and get over him. Angela is determined to get answers. She says he's got the wrong American. So she goes to find Michael and tells him that she saw a lot of stuff on his phone. She claims he's embezzled money, he's in a ring, she's been scammed. Angela claims he will be going to jail. She first asks him specifically about the picture of a stack of money saying the package has been delivered. And Michael claims that there was a man who helped him with his Wi-Fi and had it delivered to the Ivory Coast. Michael claims that he can explain anything that's in his phone, and there is nothing there. Michael asks her if she thinks he's dumb and doesn't understand the importance of a social security number and a date of birth, and he says that he made a correction on the system and had asked someone else to print it out for him. Michael asks why she just doesn't trust him. He says that he's not making any money from any groups. He says that he's just using the group to get information about the visa process. Angela still thinks he's lying and calls him a scammer. Angela says that her government is protecting her by not approving his visa. She threatens to report everyone on that chat to the government so none of them get a visa. Angela says she has no tears for him and she's had enough. And then Michael, I think just super scared that she's going to screw everyone over, tries to grab the phone from her, and they are both fighting over it at the end. All right, so Michael seems to be able to explain everything. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I really have a hard time telling if Michael is lying just in general, right? Because he does lie sometimes. I don't think it's as widespread as Angela certainly makes it seem like all the time.
Sure.
But there's certainly been things he's lied about. I mean, Michael is a proven cheater to some extent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you think he's lying about all of this?
I mean, I think he's not being entirely forthcoming about some of the more stuff that may not make him look as good, right? I do think there are a number of people on his group chat or whatever that are probably trying to scam women or something adjacent to that, right? Where can I find a rich old American woman to take me in, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
And, you know, it's just that so much of the stuff he does is... And maybe this is a cultural thing, but to our eyes seems shisty. I needed new Wi-Fi. So the convoluted scheme of Wi-Fi involved packaging it up with duct tape and sending it through the mail and then getting it on a donkey and sending this picture through this. And I had a picture of the thing. And it's like, this doesn't make any sense. Just buy a router.
Right.
What are you doing? Like, just
right. And then a meme of like a stack of cash being like, package has been delivered. And it's like, yep, everything about that seems real shady.
Right. It just seems it's like none of this. You know, when you tell a story and you go through all that, you're just like, that doesn't add up. That story doesn't make sense. And I do think it's because of, you know, like I said, the cultural difference is what's available. Because if I needed Wi-Fi or working, I would go to Target or I would go to Amazon and I would just buy a wireless router and I would have it and there would be no text chain of memes involved at all. Right. Right. And like the money guy thing he was talking about last time, you know, when I've been looking online, that's a super common thing in all parts of the world. The guy who just comes by and goes, oh, give me your spare change. I'll put it away for you. Make sure you don't spend it. Right. We'll get into a little investment. We'll pool it together. That's a normal thing in a lot of like developing countries. But we're just always like, I don't know, just put it in a bank. This is weird. Why are you like giving it to the man who's walking down the street? And so it all sounds made up to Angela. Right. Yeah. And so but like I said, we know he's been shady in the past. We know he can lie and is capable of it. So, but it's just like all of this is just so off her conspiracies of what the lies are just completely off the wall. Right?
Oh, they for sure are. She was like throwing everything at this, like embezzling, some kind of weird ring of some kind. All she knows is that at the end of the day, she'd been scammed.
Yeah. She was just like, she was like, I'm taking down you and your entire ring. Like he's a narco or something. Like what is this going on? Like he's got his Pablo Escobar circle of scamming old women like thing going on.
Yeah, but I don't think she actually believes it. And this is why she frustrates me. She is just so dramatic. And the reason why I don't think she believes it is because why does she have to go ask him his side of it, get to the bottom of it, if she's not going to believe him anyway? And then why doesn't she just email the embassy and just like pull the petition? Like if she really truly believed it, she would do that, call it a day, leave, go back to America and not deal with this shenanigans ever again.
Right. It is very much like, okay, I'm going to give you one last chance to see if you can explain this. And then when he does, she's like, bullshit. That's bullshit. You're lying to me again. Okay, well, if you were going to believe it, why did you give him a chance? Right. Right. I was the part I thought was one of the weirdest little parts of this, besides just the end of her screaming, give me the phone, like middle schoolers. Yeah. Is how she kept trying to say that he was like going to go to jail for violating. She's like, you violated the United States federal laws of. Oh and then like she was going to like quote the law. She doesn't even know that that's the law or what it's punishable by or if it's allowed to because she voluntarily gave him that information. So like she clearly doesn't know the law, but is very clear that he's going to get some sort of he's going to be found convicted of tax fraud and thrown into an American jail. Like, it's
my goodness,
very, very a big reach. Let's say that.
Right. Right.
All right. So speaking of, oh my God, let's just go with this. Speaking of other people that always make big reaches and that we also hate, let's talk about Ed and Liz.
Oh gosh.
So we are still at the part where Liz is in the house trying to get her stuff back and get herself together after Ed like just insulted them all last week, right? They started saying it was dirty, so blah, 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 that happened. So her mother, Patty, is trying to get her through this because it's time for Liz to say goodbye to Ed, and she really wants to do it, but also not at the same time. She's dreading it, but wants this closure. So Ed says that he understands why she's upset at him. This is, you know, to us privately in an interview, but says she's just like, you know, flying off the handle. Her behavior is completely unacceptable. She's out of control. So he said he had to end things because of this. They spend most of their time fighting because Liz is never under control. She's always, going batshit and stuff. So then she gives him her keys and then doesn't just leave. There's an amount of times that I was like, Liz, just leave. Just leave.
Right.
She tries to make a whole conversation about to apologize for blowing up at him. He apologizes for insulting her mom. And Liz is just like, I can't accept that apology because you don't mean it and blah, blah, blah. Things escalate. She says, you don't know how to talk to women. And that was the trigger point. This one, as soon as they said, don't know how to talk to women, then he's going to be like, well, now I have to stab you back. So then he tries to be, he infuriatingly tries to be all calm and is just like, Liz, I just have one request for you, that you learn from this. God. I want you to learn because I care about you and I care about your future relationships. You need to be better and you need to learn how to be better from this.
Ew.
So at first she's just taken aback, like it's kind of slack jawed, like but again, Liz doesn't do the okay, Ed, thanks, and walk away. Right. She she engages him on his level. There's lots of yelling, calls him. Eventually says he's not a man because, that's exactly what he said about the mom. And anyway, so we almost get to the point after a shout back and forth where she does leave and she doubles back some more to keep yelling again. So she talks about how much Ed has hurt her and how little she can trust love now. And she also seems like she's upset because she wanted to drive the goodbye conversation and get the upper hand, and he totally hijacked it. And then anyway, she pulls out of the driveway while we just comically get Ed staring out the window at her, just like the top of Ed's head, like staring out the window as she's driving away. So I guess I would put it like that. What are some of the ways she could have handled Ed's ridiculous, I want you to learn from this things? Let's say more. I'd just say better. We'll go with that.
I would have just put my hand in his face and been like, bye, and then just walked out. Because, you don't want to hear it. And I get where she's coming from. You don't want to hear it because that's just something you can't take back. And he's just going to be nasty for the sake of being nasty. Mm-hmm. So, for your own self-esteem, you don't want to hear that. So I get her wanting to cut him off. Right. Yeah. But it's but at the same time, that's not a long-term solution. You got to walk away from it because he's going to keep at it. It's Ed. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's the dirtiest of all fighters.
Right. And that was that whole passive aggressive. I just care about your future relationships and I want to make sure that that but at the end of the day, as much as he lies to himself. I don't know who he's lying to, but he's lying. The goodbye at the end of the day, what that was, hey, Liz, we're broken up and I want to make sure you realize it was your fault.
Right. It's not me. It's you. Yeah, absolutely. That's what he was getting at. And just, it seems so petty, but it's like I said, Ed is a dirty fighter. And so he's going to make it known that he is the one who's innocent. And he has learned his lesson not to choose someone like you who's going to bring him down. He needs to pick a better partner that will, work together with him and appreciate him for the person he is.
Right. Because she's so awful that unless she makes drastic changes to her base personality, she will never be happy, which is wow, that projection much, right? No one will ever be able to put up with her bullshit ever. That's the problem. That's who that applies to. Not Ed. No, Ed is good. He just needs to find a better partner.
I feel like that is part of the reason why Ed goes for younger women in general, is because he's, he thinks he can kind of manipulate the situation or manipulate the person better. I honestly just feel like women his actual age they're not trying to waste their lives and their time with his bullshit. They'd be out of there in 2 seconds. They're wise to that shit.
Well, and that's what I was explaining to my partner who didn't watch the show when Ed was on the first time. Right. You say that, but the first partner was Rose, and she took a week and was like, you're gross. I hate you. Don't talk to me again.
Right.
And then he was trying to like say hurtful things, and she was like, "Okay, bye." And she did that, and she's young. She was young, like she knew.
Yeah, but I think it really helped her cause and situation that she did not have the best English skills at that point. Right. And so Ed could say hurtful things, but she doesn't either. She might have understood what he was saying, but she didn't have necessarily the skills to like.
Yeah, but I
back.
also think she was smart enough to be like, it doesn't matter if I understand what he's saying. It's bullshit, and I don't want to be with this guy. So fine, say whatever you want, and then leave. That's the most important part. Bye.
Right. Consider the source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of what I see from like if Liz did need to learn something from that, it's to not engage with this bullshit. Just walk away. Like there's nothing there. You were not going to change his mind. You were not going to get the upper hand. All you have to be is, that's great, Ed. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Okay. From a breakup to more of a wedding style thing, let's talk about Emily and Kobe. So Emily and her parents are waiting for Kobe's family to arrive with the list of things. Emily says that things are a little tense with her and Kobe over his ex. She found out the truth, but she wishes she had a little bit more time to get over it. But the wedding is tomorrow, so she'll just have to kind of sweep it under the rug for now. Kobe arrives with his dad and his cousin with the items from the dowry list. Emily's parents, David and Lisa, review over the list and the items, and Emily thinks that she jokes that she's worth more than one goat that they name Boya. Lisa kind of wants the goat to come home with them. Lisa comments that, this whole list of things just kind of feels like some kind of weird ransom. Kobe tells Emily that she has to go inside the house while they discuss the bride price. They use leaves to talk about money without talking about money. Mm-hmm. Lisa is very uncomfortable, and just this whole process doesn't sit well with her. Whereas David is more willing to go along with the tradition. It ends up that they settled on 700 francs, or about $1.50. Kobe tells us that that's actually a lot for their family, even though it doesn't seem like a lot for Americans. Emily comes back out of the house and stands with Kobe and his family. And Lisa cries a little because it felt like Emily was really joining Kobe's family. Lisa hopes that things don't change when they get back to the U.S. All right, so it seems like everything is fine. Do you think that the whole meeting up with the ex was staged, given how Emily just has switched gears and is ready for this wedding a day later?
We really needed to expand that storyline because, I guess the wedding's not going to be cool. Just get to this wedding. I feel like the whole point is to get to this. We want to see weddings in other countries, which is part of the original appeal of shows like this, right? Is we get to see other cultures and meet people from other cultures, and not just we get to watch angry people scream at each other,
right? But
it just seems like we needed an extra storyline. Let's go along. And even the whole bride price stuff and the wedding itself is very much like David even admits it. He's like, I have a feeling when we go back home, it's going to be exactly the same as it was before.
Right.
There is what's going on here in Cameroon. And even when the mom was, and this was going on when the mom was like, it feels like she's part of his family. And he was like, they are still living in our basement. I am very acutely aware of how this is still going to go down when we go back home.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, the goat was cute, and
Boya, I don't know where that name came from, but all right.
Yeah, well, that's always the thing that the Americans always do, is they're always like, why are you naming your food? I'm confused.
Exactly, right.
Don't do that. That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird that was on their list at all, because it's like, okay, well, they are going to have to give it away to Kobe's family. That feels like a weird re-gift. Yeah,
but that seems like, from what I was gathering, based on at least what I can gather based on previous things of his show and of previous seasons, and from what he did research, a goat is standard. That's always on every list. If you don't have a goat on the list, it's not even a list. Got to include the goat. So people, speaking of including, I don't know how that works at all. Let's just talk about Sophie and Rob. So Sophie and Claire are at a diner, and they're getting breakfast, and they're talking to a waitress who has no idea what grits are. because she's like, what are grits?
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, they're like eggs. And I was like, they are not eggs. What are you talking about?
Thank you, because I've never had grits that I recall. But I didn't think they were eggs, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I was wrong. I don't know. This isn't something that's like, common for me.
It's like cornmeal.
That's what
it's made
I thought.
of corn.
I thought it was more of an oatmeal, like cream of wheat kind of situation.
Almost like, yes, it's like that, but you put a lot of butter and sugar in it. And that's it.
Yes,
right.
Sure.
Right. No eggs at all. There are no eggs in grits.
Okay.
Very weird. Okay.
I thought so, but I wasn't 100% sure. So, okay. Thank you.
It's the day after what Sophie is calling their disastrous meeting, one of the many disastrous meetings they've had with Rob. And she doesn't know what her next move should be, either with her marriage or how to eat this American breakfast. They're both like, what are these grits and eggs? This is weird. I want a proper breakfast with beans. So, because they're English. Yeah, that's how that works. So while they're eating, Sophie gets a call that she ignores from Rob. So she says they've been texting back and forth since their argument, where Rob thinks that argument was entirely Claire's fault. So he shouldn't get the blame for this one. I should get a pass on that argument. She was being a bitch, basically. So Sophie thinks Claire was just trying to be a good parent. So Claire asks if she's just ready to walk away and just go back to London already, and encourages Sophie to, if she doesn't have one already, to come up with a plan B. Claire wants plan B to be, maybe we could get a place together. But Sophie is like, no, that's not, no. So even if Claire thinks she should just end it, it's no secret, which is no secret to anyone. So anyway, the plan is to keep on doing what she's doing and staying with Kay, but she needs to actually tell Rob that and not just, ghost him and not show up. Claire thinks that she should also be there for that conversation to make things, quote, easier for her. So Sophie in an interview says again that she needs to decide what she wants, which I guess she's eventually going to have to do, because I feel like that's been the entire season. Her just being like, I don't know what I want to do, so I won't make a decision. So then Sophie and Claire are showing up at Rob's place. So she did tell him that she was coming over, but not that she's coming over to pack up her more stuff and go back to Kay's. So Sophie wants to tell him in person because he deserves that. She also wants to see if they can get through this without, blowing up and having everything turn into a shit show. So Rob doesn't think he can have a productive and useful conversation with Sophie if Claire's around, because Claire's just going to derail all the conversations, being like, yeah, but he's a piece of shit. Look at how much shit he is. He's just shitty. Oh my God. So when they get there, they find a stuffed animal that Rob bought for Sophie. It's like a stuffed animal that there's another one inside of it. There were two stuffed animals, and they have a happy face and a sad face. And she just kept acting about them like she was goddamn 10 years old or something like that. Yeah. She's like, oh, look, it's a happy face. And if you turn it into a sad face, and look at that cutie animal. Anyway, so she's so excited about these animals that she almost forgets to be mad at Rob. So Rob starts off by apologizing to Claire, who apologizes in return for raising her voice. So then Rob kind of gets straight to the heart of the matter. Like, what are we doing? So Claire is worried that the stuffed animal has convinced Sophie to stay. But Sophie does say that she needs a few days to stay at Kay's to process things. So she thinks that they both need space to reflect on things, which is the one thing that seems to me like they've had a lot of. So he thinks that's bullshit. He apologized and got a gift. So what else could he have done? And he blames Claire and calls him her worst nightmare. So can you make sense of why Sophie thinks that more space is a solution to their relationship and is gonna fix things? I feel like that's the one thing they've tried.
Yeah, that's actually true. They have tried that. I don't know why she thinks this is salvageable at this point.
Yes, that's true.
Right. I guess because she wants to keep trying, but I don't know why. You're right. They've already given space a try. And so I don't know why she keeps on holding on to this thing, because it's like, at what point, what conditions do you think are going to be right for you to move back in? And I think from her perspective, she's kind of just waiting, and the space is to allow Rob to change. But Rob is not changing because of space. No. Or a lack of space. He's just not changing.
No, and that's kind of a weird thing to wish for. That's not how it works. People change because their circumstances change. Letting him live alone, there's incentive to change, but change how? Change with what practice, right? Yeah. It's like trying to learn a new language with nobody to speak it, right? You're like,
Right.
I can try, I can practice, but doesn't mean I'm going to be great at Spanish because I've been sitting here reading a Spanish dictionary, right? As I've had plenty of space. But yeah, so I don't understand how she equates space from working on things. Like, I don't understand how how does she envision this going on? Like, but at the end of the day, it's just like she doesn't want to be around him, which is where which she should interpret as being like, then this thing is over. Like, we're done.
Yeah, I think it's a very immature view. It's like the people that kind of run away from their problems thinking that they'll somehow magically get fixed. And if they just give it space and time that, they'll come back and everybody's happy again and, you can start over. But I think it's like she's not really realizing that these are kind of like grown up things. And, maybe she hasn't had the best role model from her mom, since,
for sure. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really sound like conflict resolution is even her mom's strength. So
No.
I just don't think she's handling this very maturely. And given her age, I think it's fair, but then I probably personally wouldn't have advised for her to get married that young.
Right. No, and bring up her mom's a good point, because it seems like if you're a parent and you want to like help somebody through that, and really what Claire wants to do is help Sophie come to the realization that this isn't working and she needs to break up with Rob, right? You can't, like, she's doing the opposite of everything you're supposed to do, right? You can't badmouth the person and just be like, he's a piece of shit and just constantly berate her for not doing it well enough. Like, those are not things that get people out of relationships. And also being like, you should move in with me. Like, I think we know based on and I haven't been paying close attention, but some of the stuff that's been going on outside, we've been seeing as the show is going on social media is not health. That's not a healthy relationship either. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, I could also almost kind of see like Sophie holding on to this, because the other option is she has to move it back in and do things with Claire. And she doesn't want to do that even more than she doesn't want to be with Rob.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense, because it does seem like Claire is, I don't know, it's starting to come out more, I think, in this show. It seems like they have like a weird attachment.
Yeah.
And it just, it does kind of almost come off like Claire is trying to get Sophie to herself.
Right.
And trying to get rid of the competition. And I feel like Claire was a little bit more hands off when she had her own situation, like when she had her Texas boyfriend. Mm-hmm. But even then, I think that was weird that she decided to get a Texas boyfriend just so she could be closer to Sophie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just, it took me aback, just the whole reaction to the stuffed animal. Was like, oh my God, she's a child. Like, oh crap. Like, and we always forget how young she is when we know she's young. But like when she did that, it was like, oh my, like this is a child.
Yeah. I mean, she's not old enough to drink.
I think she is. I think she's 24.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. For some reason, I was thinking she was like 21.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to another couple that doesn't seem to want to change, and that's Gino and Jasmine. So Jasmine is stretching in a park, and Gino goes to meet her. She looks just annoyed with him, and Gino asks her to lunch so that they can chat. Jasmine says that she wants to have an adult conversation where they take turns talking, so they both agree. Gino wants to talk about the fight they had at the appliance store over the name calling. Gino doesn't know how to move forward at this point. Jasmine comments that she is mentally exhausted, and Gino says he is too, but Jasmine doesn't sympathize with him. Jasmine never thought her marriage would be like this. She tells us that they don't have intimacy. Jasmine starts by saying that she really wanted to go to the gym today because she was hurt by his comment that he's not attracted to her, as she starts to cry. Gino says that he retaliated because she said he's not a provider or a real man. He was expecting her to be happy that he paid for the pageant. Jasmine apologizes that she made him feel less of a man. She commits to still respecting him even if she's mad. But she then changes the subject completely by saying she'll do that if he'll take the initiative in their intimacy. Gino says that will take time, and when he's ready, he will let her know. Jasmine wants to feel attractive if she disagrees with him. Gino says physically he's attracted to her, especially her big perky breasts. Jasmine says that he's the most beautiful man on earth. And then they talk about toe sucking again, which is really gross.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Jasmine says they are taking baby steps in improving their relationship. They seem to be in much better spirits at the lunch. Gino and Jasmine are in their matching leather jackets as they go dress shopping for the pageant. They're trying to move forward and leave everything in the past. Gino jokes about how they're going to find a cheap dress. Gino tries to sell Jasmine on this hot pink dress, and he says that he doesn't like the blue dress she picked out. He picks out a dress with a butterfly design, and Jasmine loves it. And she's kind of shocked that Gino, who has no sense of fashion for himself, seems to have fashion sense for someone else. Gino jokes that he can be Jasmine's manager because he knows all about the pageant circuit because he tried out for Mr. Michigan, as we see some old pictures of Gino. Jasmine is surprised. Gino really loves the hot pink dress. She then walks out in an orange dress, and Jasmine likes that it reminds her of tropical fruit, but Gino thinks she looks more like a pumpkin. Gino pushes the pink dress again, and Jasmine says he might be fired or sleeping on the couch tonight. They both end up liking this burgundy dress more because of the fit. They're looking forward to the pageant, which is in a few days. All right, so what do you think of Gino being Jasmine's manager? Is this a good idea or a very terrible idea?
Oh, it's always a terrible idea for him to be involved in anything like that. Because it's just going to... The manager has to disagree with you, right? A good manager, like a good editor or whatever, right? It can't just be yes men if you're going to be productive, right? There has to be some sort of disagreement. And these people can't handle disagreeing with each other at all. Like, that's a terrible idea. Now, I think he likes it because it's going to save him money, and that way he can look at the price. I had to just assume this entire time that the pink dress was the cheapest dress in the store. Right.
Like,
that had to be my assumption. When it's like, why does he keep coming back to this pink dress? And it's like, it's got to be cheap, right? That's got to be the reason he's going back to it. But
I don't know. I mean, it was an okay dress. I was kind of surprised that was his taste, but not really surprised.
Yeah, I mean, but I thought part of it is a little tricky because she's like, oh, I didn't know you had such fashion sense. And I'm like, there's not a dress in that boutique that is like going to be like, oh, that's actually hideous. Like, I hate that. It's so dowdy. Like, it's a fashionable boutique. Like, anything that's in there is going to be at least approaching fine, right? Be like, oh, I can see that working. But I always thought that maybe I haven't watched a beauty pageant in a long time, but I always thought the dresses were like much more, I'm like a better way to put it, elegant, like much more coverage. Like, it's not a boob dress usually that you have in the beauty pageants, right?
Well, this doesn't sound like one of those kinds of pageants. It just sounds like a local, like Miami pageant, which in that case, who knows? Might
be very, here's my whole back and weird holes in my back. Like that. Let's really like the dress with weird holes in the back of it.
Yeah, the cutouts.
Yeah. I mean, I beyond that though, I thought the most troubling part here, it's always, as besides having the picture of a toe sucking again, is like he's clearly trying to control her with sex, right? It's very much, if you behave yourself, we can do it.
Right.
And I'm gonna and it was just very gross. Like,
right. His whole thing where he was like, I'll let you know. It's like that. Yes, that to me kind of makes it seem like he is trying to control, because why can't he say, I'll really work on it, or do something to be reassuring, because she's already feeling insecure about that. And there's so many ways that he could have played that with kind of the outcome still being like the same in terms of like what he has to do. But he could have said something to be more reassuring and he chose not to. He's I'll let you know how that turns out.
Yeah, he's framed it before as being like, I just don't feel turned on when we're having these fights or whatever. But this one was very much like he almost explicitly said, well, you're misbehaving, and when you behave better for long enough, then I'll think about doing it. And I'll let you know when that happens. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much like a holding it over, and it was like, gross. But like, it's also why people shouldn't be on this show for this long. My God, how many times they had a conversation about how they don't have sex often enough. Like,
yeah. I mean, in an ideal world, she wouldn't want it like that, where she could like turn it, on him.
Right. Yeah.
Because what would he do if she was like, nah, I'm not giving this to you. But I feel like because she's always throwing herself at him.
Right.
That's
it's also,
why he's using it to weaponize.
She's also weirdly like, it's always weird to me how much like, I feel like you're not attracted to me. And he's just like, well, I feel that you have perky breasts. And she's like, oh, thank you. So, oh, my God. And it's like, I'm so touched. I feel so much better now. And it's like, that was a weird, like, out of nowhere compliment that he just came up with, like, on the spot. And is like, perky breasts. Yes, we'll go with that. And she was just like, oh, you do love me. And like, does he? That really did it for you? As always. All right. So last up for me, I have Patrick and Thais. So we're still at the dinner where we start off at the dinner where the two dads are still meeting. And Carlos doesn't think Jose should be charging something like 20,000 real, which is like $3,700 of repairs to his ranch that he wants to host this party. But of course, it's like, it's not for the party. It's because I need to fix my ranch up and I need these stones everywhere. So Patrick thinks that Carlos is just stepping out of his lane. This isn't really any of his business, but he keeps going. And this time talking about like, how are you charging your own son for rent for a place he doesn't live in? That's weird. Like, that's pretty greedy. And John steps in to agree, even though make sure we know this the whole time. John never knows what's going on in any of these conversations. He's going completely on what Patrick sometimes says and body language. And he's like, feel like Carlos is yelling at your dad. I got to agree with him on that one. That's a fantastic thing. So in an interview, John and Thais think that Patrick should just let the apartment go. It's a waste of money. They never use the place. If they do want to come to Brazil, they can just get an Airbnb for a lot cheaper, right? And it's fine. But Patrick is like, you all are acting like it's not that much. It's not even that much money. So then Carlos moves on to how, while I'm ranting at people, I also have beef with Patrick. Because you never came to me man to man. Your son never came to me man to man and talked to me about marrying my daughter. And that's when Patrick kind of finally says the thing he always never said before. And he's like, that's because she wouldn't let me. Like, she literally was like, I'm not telling you about him. He doesn't know about you. You can't ask him. I'm not giving you his number, nothing. So anyway, there's a lot of crosstalk then. And there's people yelling in English. There's people yelling in Portuguese. I'm not even sure how that actually played out. But then we kind of get, neither does John because of all the language barrier. And he plays it out in English. So he just decides that, it's not going to happen. Listen, they're already married. I've decided, Jose has decided that this is just not going to happen. He's never going to ask for permission because that ship has sailed. Patrick, though, just wants everybody to get along. And that's what's really important. But how can that happen if Carlos, like at the end of a scene, yells out that he doesn't trust Patrick? It's not about liking him or not liking him. So next day, Patrick and Thais are walking around town, and he's worried about how this party is going to go after, all the shit talking at dinner. So Patrick thought that everyone was kind of ganging up against his dad, and Thais is like, well, yeah, because he was wrong. Of course they're going to gang up on him. So she wants Patrick to give up the apartment because it's causing distress in their relationship, and they don't actually use it. Thais knows that Patrick just wants Jose to be in his life, but isn't sure that Jose feels the same way about Patrick. And she feels like Patrick is essentially just sitting here trying to buy his father's love. So Patrick wants us to change the focus from the apartment to more important things like Alexei and making things right with Carlos, which clearly last night didn't do. So then it's time for a different dinner, and we kind of change lanes completely. This time it's with Thais' friends, Natalia and Carl. So these two are already not fans of Patrick because as she explained, or he explained, they kind of feel like she stole them from them at least. And also because like as soon as he sat down with his boot on and just immediately spilled the drink all over everybody. So good first impression. So we start off talking about it was pretty much Natalia did all the talking about how fast this relationship developed and how well he treats her. Because, the only thing they heard was that he kissed another woman before they were together. And that's cheating. It's cheating if you hooked up. It's cheating if you didn't have sex. Everything's cheating. So Patrick says they weren't actually together when that happened. And also, we've heard this story already. We already kind of went through this is not a new piece of information for us. They hashed this out this first season they were on.
Yeah.
So anyway, they get a little confusion about what does and does not count as hooking up. And so as always in Brazil, we get the hand sex motion with the circle and the finger, and like Paul always comes up. So anyway, then Natalia's ire, and she gets mad at John because he threw that party with a bunch of girls like 2 days after Thais got there. And of course, John can't defend himself because, he can't speak Portuguese. So they say he's a bad influence. But John is like, what are you talking about? He's a grown man. What are you talking about influence? Like, he follows his own path. And there's a bunch of yelling. I'm not even sure how this came up, but apparently John knows some Portuguese because he calls her a slut in Portuguese.
God.
And then the drink gets thrown on him. That's where we end it. So, like, this was, like, kind of wild to me. Like, if these were really Thais's friends, wouldn't they know that all of these issues have been resolved already?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But they might be her friends from when she was in Brazil, but then now that they say they haven't seen her for 2 years.
Right.
So who knows how often they're actually talking. And I can only imagine it's probably more a challenge now that, she has Alexei. So even though they've gotten through all of this, maybe she hasn't really had an opportunity to. But then again, maybe the friends are just trying to stir the pot because, like, I think Thais even mentioned, they might feel a way about Patrick for kind of stealing her away. She was only supposed to be gone for like 2 months.
Yeah, which is, again, whose fault was that they thought that? It wasn't Patrick's.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of interesting, too, that, Patrick and John were kind of saying, like, hey, listen, like, it's kind of Thais's fault. She's the one who, was lying to you about this. And so I couldn't say anything because of that. And I wonder if Carlos had heard that yet.
Yeah, I don't know either, because he didn't really react to it, right? It kind of came out and it was like, and I do think Carlos, when he's in his ire and he's on a roll, is going to be like, well, it doesn't matter. You should have known better than that and told her, no, put your foot down and come and talk to me anyway like a man. Like, don't let her decide those things for you, which is like kind of a wild thing to do. Is like, in order to know if you are the right man for my daughter, I want to know if you will ignore the things she asks you to do and just do whatever the fuck you want anyway.
Right.
It's like, is that what you want?
Yeah. Pretty wild, but yeah, not really like any kind of new drama, I'd say, other than the whole dad stuff.
Yeah, the dad stuff was there. And we did, I'm sure it was really just a staging to be like, let's get Thais's friends mad at John. Like, that's what we did in that episode. Let's do that. He's not in a fight by himself yet. So he's just observing from the sideline for most of the fights.
Okay, let's move on to our last couple, and that's Alexei and Loren. So Alex has bought the kids over to Loren's parents' house because the daycare is closed and Alex has to work. Loren is still unable to take care of the kids because of her surgery. Loren's mom is checking in with Alex, and he says that he's tired with all the stress over the war, Loren's recovery, and work. Loren isn't able to pick the kids up physically, so Alex has most of the childcare responsibilities. Alex says that he's overwhelmed and he's breaking, although the wife and kids are his priority. He wants to support Loren, but he doesn't want to hear her complain. Loren's mom agrees that it's physically and mentally exhausting, and Alex is feeling unprepared and frustrated. Alex thought that he could handle it, but he also says that she completely has downplayed this recovery. Alex wouldn't have been as supportive if he had known that this is how it would be. We see Loren at home trying to fold laundry. Loren says her recovery feels slow psychologically. Although we kind of find out it's also physically because Dr. Dev, her plastic surgeon, has said that she is still inflamed, so she needs to take it easy. Loren wants to help more, even though she's not able to because she sees the pressure Alex is under. Alex is asking her why she's doing the laundry again, because apparently she does this every day. And Loren says, oh, well, it's better than doing it once a week and spending a few hours on it. Loren says that Dr. Dev says that she shouldn't even be folding the laundry, and Alex disagrees. Dr. Dev says that repetitive movements are just not helping her because she's still very swollen. And Alex tells her, okay, do the laundry once a week and just fold very, very slowly. Alex is annoyed, and they are fighting about what Alex has to do around the house. Loren didn't know that her recovery would be this intense. She claims she did it for him. And Alex says that he told her to go to the gym. and she thought she was going to wake up and just be Barbie one day. Alex tells her to listen to him. Loren feels like Alex resents her for the surgery. Loren says that if she had been upfront with him about the recovery, he probably wouldn't have supported her. Alex says that really at the end of the day, he had no choice, and he's done, and he wants to go sleep on the couch as Loren mutters asshole under her breath. Loren doesn't blame him for being upset because she feels that she did a selfish thing, but she also doesn't think it's that selfish because she thinks it's for their future together. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this is really for us?
This is not. How is this for us? That is the biggest load of bullshit I've heard. Like, I want to do this for us. Actually, I don't want you to do that. Yeah, but I'm going to do it anyway for us. And I'm like, no, then you're doing it for you. Like, that's
her insecurity talking, right? Because her version of this is for us is this is so you're still attracted to me. This is so that, we'll have that romance in our relationship, and we're going to have like this long lasting relationship because you're going to have like the passion for, being attratted to me. I think that's where that's coming from when she says it's for us.
I know that's what she says, and it's where she's coming from. But I kind of want to turn it around and be like, what if I told you that I needed to fuck off for 8 weeks and go on a like European vacation, and when I came back, our relationship was going to be stronger than ever, but I'm also going to fuck off for 8 weeks and I can leave you alone with the kids. Like, you'd be like, what the hell? That's bullshit. And that's what she did. She did something for herself that is now making him be a single parent for like 8 weeks at best.
Yeah.
And like, and it doesn't matter how she justifies it to herself. He's like, you can't say I'm doing this for you when the person's response is, I told you not to do it.
Right.
Like, that doesn't hold water anymore. Right.
Right. Yeah, so would you say that you're team Alex all the way on this?
I am definitely team Alex on the way on this. Like, and because it was the whole thing. I feel like they kind of did it to me too. I feel like she really downplayed the recovery. And I feel like the doctor didn't necessarily downplay the recovery. I feel like that was pretty clear, but she was just like, she just had this attitude of, but I'm a super mom, so it won't be that bad. I'll be back on my feet quicker than most people, than everybody else. Everybody thinks they're going to be the above average exception, that it's not going to be that bad. Right. Yeah.
I've known a couple of people, and they're not like close friends, so I haven't, had that opportunity to really ask them about it. But I've known of a couple people who have done the quote mommy makeover. And if they're out for 6 weeks and they've done it right about kind of the same time in terms of like how old the kids are, it's like, I can't imagine that family having to go through all of that.
Yeah. I mean, So my ex did something similar. She had a major surgery. It wasn't quite the same exact thing, but close enough. Right. But the kids were older. Like, the kids were like in school. Like, and so that's a very different thing than having like toddlers running around that are trying to like jump on you and stuff like that. Right.
Right.
And it is like 6 weeks. Like, I remember we do the reading. When I did the reading, now we're gone for 2 weeks, but we used to be gone for 1 week. Even 1 week, I got back and it was like, what the hell that was awful. Like, Jesus, you can't do that again. Right. And but a year later, it was, far enough in the past that I did. And then it was like, God damn it, that sucked again. So that's 1 week, let alone 6 to 10 weeks for this recovery. And and I get him with the laundry too. He's like, well, yeah, you can't do laundry because you try to do it all right away, and you power wash the laundry in an hour. He's like, and I was also frustrated at her because she was like, I don't want to spend it on the weekend and take like an hour. She said an hour to do laundry. And I was like, laundry always takes an hour. What are you talking about?
Right.
It actually takes longer than that. So, and especially if you're not pipelining your loads of laundry, right? Like,
what a waste of water and energy if she's literally doing laundry every day.
I've known people who do that, who like, they don't like having that, because when you have a whole big family with lots of kids, you have to do like 4 or 5 loads of laundry every week, right?
Oh gosh.
And some people, like my mom, when I was a kid, that's my Sunday. I'm doing laundry all day Sunday, right? I will do the laundry. I will fold it while I'm watching football. Like that's my Sunday. And I've known other people who are like, no, I do one load every day. You know, it's like, it takes me whatever 15 minutes to fold it after it's done. And that's it. But yeah, it's his point is I'm with him is that he's like, just do it on Saturday. I'll bring all the loads to you and you can literally take 8 hours to fold these clothes, but you got to do something. You got to like contribute somehow. Like this is infuriating.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have enough stuff where I don't have to do laundry every week. I think I do laundry like once every 3 to 4 weeks.
I have exactly 2 weeks worth of underwear.
I have probably about 60 days worth of underwear.
I have exactly. Yeah, that's my limiting factor is I know when I'm out of underwear, I have to do the laundry. And even still, 2 weeks is like a big load, like a load and a half. And my kids are old enough now that they do their own damn laundry.
Yeah. Well, and I'm talking about just for me too.
Right. Yeah,
if it was me times 3 or 4 for a household, right, then I'm sure I would have to do it every week.
If you said 3 or 4 weeks, every 3 or 4 weeks, well, if there's 3 people, that's 1 week is 3 weeks. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. All right. So that was our group this week. We did not hear from Nicole and Mahmoud. I'm wondering if we're ever going to hear from them again.
Yeah. I feel like this is like their whole segment was what? Like we've been here for like a week, maybe. Yeah. Has it gone on? Yeah.
Right. Okay. So out of the group you saw this week, who would you say is your student of the week?
I thought lots of people were awful and bad. So I just went with Kobe because that was fine. Like, it was fine. He did the bride price thing. They negotiated with leaves. It was fine.
Yeah. I went with Emily because at least she acknowledged that, you know, she just needed more time to get over it. But she put on a happy face and hasn't been a downer, even though we think it's kind of a fake storyline, but whatever.
They did kick her out when they were like, you have to leave. And she was like, go over here. And they're like, no, really leave. Like, that was funny.
Okay. How about your dunce?
I said Ed. Like that just passive aggressive nonsense bullshit. Like that is just, it really is classic Ed. Like, I was like, why does everybody hate this guy? It's like, this is why everybody hates this guy. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which brings me to my life lesson, which is you should not be giving any kind of, constructive criticism during a breakup. Absolutely right? And no advice for the future. Right. And if you are going to bring it up, because believe me, there have been plenty of times where I have wanted to say something. As soon as the other person is not receptive to it, you just got to let it go. Yeah. I mean, it is really... Don't force your constructive criticism on someone during a breakup. That's ridiculous. It's similar to, and people can imagine this, if you leave a job and your boss is like, on the way out, can I tell you what you can do better? Like, fuck no, you can't. Bye. Right. Right? Like, you're going to listen to that. I don't want to hear that. Yeah. Okay, what about your life lesson? So mine is more towards Sophie and Rob is what I was thinking, but, a little bit towards other people too. If you can't even stomach the idea of being in the same place as someone, you're already broken up. Like, whether you admit it or not, that you're already broken up. If you're like, I don't even want to be there with him, like, then you're not together. Yeah. Oh, goodness. These couples. All right. So next week, we will be back on Monday, as far as we know. Yeah. Yes. All right. So until then. All right. Talk to everybody then. Okay. Bye. Bye.